Good morning, Janice.
Good morning, Anthony.
Are you ready to talk about the 6 principles of influence in home buying?
As I'll ever be. I'm very ready.
All right, so the 6 principles of influence, these describe the psychological forces that govern all selling, persuasion, and decision making. If you haven't heard of these are actually really well-known concepts made popular by Dr. Robert Cialdini, also known as the Godfather of Influence. Dr. Cialdini is a social scientist and the author of Influence, one of the most influential business books of all time. It's a New York Times bestseller, over 3 million copies sold. Really, if anyone asks me what's a book you must read, I really struggle with that, but I would put this on there. Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So I have some homework?
Yes, for sure.
Okay.
So let's talk about how Dr. Cialdini's 6 principles apply to real estate. And this applies both to home buyers, who we speak to, as well as realtors, who are trying to move inventory, essentially. All right. So the first principle of influence is reciprocity. All right. And this is the concept behind free offers or free samples. We feel as human beings, we feel a compulsion to give back when something has been given to us. All right?
I completely agree with that.
Oh, yeah. It's
free is for me. Is that right?
There's like a tug in you that almost makes you want to do something, even if you otherwise wouldn't have wanted to. And the classic example in Dr. Cialdini's book is from this, I think it's 70s or 80s, when there was a religious group, I don't remember what, I think it was Jehovah's Witnesses, would give you a flower in the airport. Do you remember this vaguely?
I don't, no.
Okay, this was very common. They would hand you a flower, they would put it in your hand, even if you didn't want it, right? And then ask for $1.
Okay.
Right? Huh. Right? And they did studies tracking all this, and even if you had a view that you generally didn't give money, or you didn't agree with what they just did to you, forcing you to hold the flower, you were still way more likely than not to give the $1.
Yes, because you just received something.
Yes. And on a tangent, by the way, the hilarious part is most people would throw the flower away as soon as they walked away from the interaction, and the person would go get the flower out of the garbage and do it again. So the cost of doing this was very low.
I was going to say, I actually think that's kind of brilliant on their side to reuse the flower, receive the donations.
Yep. So this is actually so psychologically powerful. And finally, I guess governing officials realized it, where they banned this practice in airports because it worked so well. All right. So how can this apply to home buying? Well, if you're a realtor and you're trying to get someone to feel that sort of sense of obligation to work with you, here are a couple of tricks. And if you're a home buyer, just keep an eye out. If you're receiving these free items, just be aware that somebody is sort of trying to get you to like them or maybe feel indebted to them. Yeah?
Yes. Yeah.
So common example is the free appraisal. Realtors can do a little research for you and give you the value or an estimated value of the homes you're looking at. That's actually pretty valuable. So it might be worth it to get the free appraisal, even if you have to fight the psychological urge to feel indebted.
Absolutely. And a lot of businesses do that with the first original, the free consultation, free first call, free.
Yep.
Yep.
Another trick, or I don't want to say another
trick
technique.
That's a good one.
At open houses, often there'll be free snacks or free water bottles. And the reason for this is sometimes buyers come in unattached, meaning home buyers don't have a broker yet. So why not make a great first impression and give them a free bottle of cold water on a hot day, or a snack when you've been schlepping around from unit to open house to open house and you're pretty hungry.
Right.
Yeah.
Our realtor did this. We had an open house over the Easter weekend a few years ago, and she made a basket that had Easter eggs in it. Inside was like information on the house, but then you got some chocolates and some, like you said, some water to go with it. And you kind of left there feeling like, oh, look what I left with. It was actually quite brilliant. It was very small. They took information and they felt like they received something, like you said, free from the open house.
Another very common practice is a closing gift. meaning when you're at the closing table, I mean, in New York, we actually still have a closing table. We don't do closings and escrow like the rest of the country.
Oh no, I sat around the closing table.
Oh,
yes,
you did? Very cool.
I did. Yeah, we still have those around my neck of the woods.
But a common practice is for the brokers on either side, seller or buyer, to have like a small gift, usually under $25 in value for their client. And the reason for this, or the technique, is here's thank you for choosing me. I'm so happy. Congratulations on your new home. Wait for it. And I'd love it if you refer me any friends.
Yes, exactly. But it works because you think about the gift that you received, how nice it was to be thought of, and you will tell people that.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to say that this is evil or
no, it's
overtly,
brilliant marketing.
It's just nudging in a certain direction, understanding human psychology, right? And if you don't like them, you're not going to do it. A keychain or whatever is not going to make you refer somebody who you didn't have a good experience with, but it's just increasing the odds.
It feels good. It's a feel good.
Yeah. And why wouldn't you want to do something nice for someone who makes you feel good, right?
Absolutely. Be interesting stories you say around sitting around the table. We did do that. We had a table. We bought a gift for the homeowners that we were purchasing from because the house wasn't for sale. They actually answered an ad. We ended up buying it. We were so thankful. I think we just bought them like a bottle of wine or something very small, but they were elated that we thought of them when we were buying their house, and it was something small, something they talk about still to this day.
Well, you're just a nice person. I mean,
well, that's a whole nother podcast, but
all right, let's move on to the second principle of influence: commitment and consistency. So this principle is that we feel this psychological compulsion to be consistent with ourselves, and it can actually move your mind. And the example that Dr. Cialdini mentions in his book is kind of a little bit of a downer, but during World War II, when U.S. troops were captured in China, in the Pacific area of the war, the Chinese POW camp operators were very, very smart psychologically, and what they would do is they would ask the American POWs, like, if you want an extra portion of food, or if you want one less, I don't know, beating today, I don't know what they did, right? All you have to do, you don't have to do anything, is just write down 3 things you don't necessarily love about the United States, right? And they would do this over years and escalating, right? And the fact that basically what happens is when you write down something and you keep reinforcing it, but basically what happened was by the time they left and returned to the United States, finally free, their opinions of the United States were generally much lower than other armed services or other POWs who did not, who were not, subject to this sort of manipulation.
Consistent brainwashing,
Exactly. Because they've been writing every day for years, the United States is not that great, this is not what I don't like about the United States, And then you know what? You get home and United States ain't that great.
Right. Oh, that's an interesting.
Yeah. So that's an extreme example. We're not talking POWs here. We're talking real estate.
No, but that's interesting that he has that in his book because that's a very interesting view of consistency over time, changing your opinion of something you otherwise would have thought was some way else.
Yeah. So, I mean, the blunt approach to that would be torturing them. Like, you must denounce the United States. That would actually make some people dig in harder and be more patriotic, right? So this was very subtle.
Interesting.
All right. So how this applies to real estate. This is a concept that is used in a lot of businesses, and it's this concept of getting a lot of small yeses to get a big yes later, right? So as a home buyer, if a realtor is seeking it wants you to hire them as your realtor, they're going to try to get a lot of little yeses to get to that big yes. And a lot of little yeses might be, would you care to join my email list? May I send you this free appraisal report? And those all require a yes from your part, a consent, a nodding of your head.
Agreement. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And you might think it's harmless. I mean, it is harmless. It's not going to hurt you. But it does lead you in a direction where you are more likely to say yes to other requests later on because you're used to saying yes to this person. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. So, wow. Janice, so far, how is this stuff? Is this good? Is this interesting material?
It is, because you're using the the philosophy to actually make business decisions, not just like pulling stuff out of thin air and saying, well, let's try this and see if it works. I mean, this is psychological forces and proof. I think it's interesting.
So the third principle of influence is social proof. The concept is that if you know that other people are doing something, you are more likely to do it, right? I know a lot of us like to think we're independent, we don't follow the crowds, but we all do, at least at some level.
We all do. Yeah. It's the way it is.
If you didn't, you'd be the only one with a Zune. You'd be the only one using, I don't know, Hotmail. You know, we all use.
Still on MySpace by yourself, right?
I will not follow the crowd to, Facebook or whatever.
Right. I am staying on MySpace.
So yeah, we definitely rely on crowds or social norms to help guide our decisions. Yeah.
Yes.
So an example from Dr. Cialdini's book. This again, some of this is a little dated, but do you know what a Tupperware party is?
Oh, I do. Yes. Back in the day, I remember going to Tupperware parties when I was little, when my mom would go. Yeah.
So do you know why those worked or why they were so prevalent, or what, at least from the business side of things? It was
Good
because
question.
It's always hosted by somebody in the neighborhood, yeah?
Yes, yeah.
And you always have this sort of flurry of activity where your friends and neighbors are buying. And it creates this sort of social proof where, hey, I should be getting one too. I should be buying a set of Tupperware as well.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And have you ever been to like a home party, even though you're not obligated to buy, when everyone else around you is buying something,
yep,
you feel that you must as well?
It's not like overt where you sit there and think,
No.
I should buy because other people are buying. But there's a tug. There's something going on inside
everyone, and they're excited and they're buying something and they're leaving with the product. And you're like, wait, I want that too.
So how does this work with real estate? If you ever call a good real estate broker or realtor, you may notice that the good ones have their phones answered something like this. We'll call it Janice Frary Realty, right?
Okay.
Hello, welcome to the Janice Real Estate Firm. Over 10,000 houses sold in the Pennsylvania area, right?
Oh, so, that's good.
Right. What does that prove? That 10,000 people have hired you, right?
It's also not my first day.
Very good.
Right, right.
Yeah. There's also, what's another common way that this happens? Testimonials.
Yes.
Referrals or social media. Even just seeing a realtor who has 10,000 likes versus somebody, I don't actually, Janice, I don't know how social media works. Is that right? Likes or follows? I don't know how it works.
It is, yeah. You have likes or follows. You have, usually in a situation like that, the more you have, it's like, wow, they might have been around the block a couple times.
Yeah. Even if those likes were bought from a like farm in Sri Lanka, right?
I know that. You know that. But other people might not know that. But you can also see, you're going to Facebook or social media, it's great they have 10,000 likes, but look at their posts. They got, you can see like, we closed today, this for sale. And they have a lot of momentum on it. You can really see that social proof that they are doing something.
Very good, very good. Thank you for your help on the social media part, because that's just,
It's not your forte, but that's okay. I got you. You do the math, I do the social media, and it all works out in the end.
So the fourth principle of influence is authority. Now, this is the most common, I think the hilarious example of this is the white lab coat. When you put a white lab coat on somebody, you're like, I don't know, 20% more likely to listen to them. If you add a stethoscope to that, it's like 40%.
Then it's big stuff right there.
And then now I'm just joking, but if you add that mirror thing on the forehead, I'm sure it goes to like 100%. I'm going to listen to this guy.
Like, he has to be amazing, right?
So how does this apply to realtors? In real estate, how do you demonstrate your authority? We kind of talked about it before. If you call in and they mention that they've closed, I don't know, 10,000 properties, this dude knows what he's talking about. This dude is probably very experienced, yeah? Or even just saying, Janice the realtor has 20 years experience in Lackawanna County or whatever county we're talking about. So that alone could be enough to demonstrate authority, yeah?
Absolutely. Because again, when you're the consumer and you hear 20 years, wow, that's, again, not the first day.
By the way, I've been a executor for 20 years and well over several hundred estates. There's a reason why I mentioned that. Same principle.
Absolutely. Which is why you wrote a book to tell people how to do this. And you also wrote a book about real estate and how to buy your first home.
Yes.
Because you've had this 20 years of experience.
Absolutely. I wrote How to Buy Your Perfect First Home. And we do mention some of these sort of tactics to make sure that you are making the best informed decision, not necessarily nudged by psychological techniques. Yeah.
Right.
All right. So the fifth principle of influence is liking. And this one seems maybe a little common sense, but let's dive into it. You're more likely to be agreeable with or to do business with somebody who you like, right?
Yes. Somebody that you have a conversation with.
That's why you see very few disagreeable salespeople. Salespeople are generally attractive, agreeable, easy to get along with, great at small talk. You don't really have many frumpy, short, or unhappy salespeople because they don't sell.
Because you're not gonna make that connection with them if they're not communicating, and that's the point of being in sales, right?
Absolutely. So how does this apply in a real estate situation? Be prepared, basically, if you're a home buyer, to have a lot of small talk and a lot of attempts to make connections, to find common ground. And if that's not your thing, if you'd rather not have that sort of relationship, just brace yourself.
Well, there's going to be a lot of communicating through the whole process of home buying. So you have to make that connection originally, because we talk to our realtor 100 times, if not more, throughout the process. You have to find somebody that you like and want to talk to.
Oh yeah. If you dread the phone call, then it's just not a good business relationship, right?
Not so much, no.
Oh, from the realtor's point of view, I think this is an important tip. I think a lot of realtors know this, but just for those who don't, you need to be as beautiful as possible. That sounds so shallow and so contrary to a lot of stuff that we're taught. It's inner beauty that matters. Yeah, inner beauty matters too. But if you're trying to get listings, get a professional headshot. Get some, do it with. If you're a lady, perhaps even get your hair done and do your makeup. If you're a guy, get a nice haircut, wear a nice suit. Just be as beautiful as possible. Yeah, it matters.
Yeah, well, and that goes back to just looking professional and being professional. And yes.
People like attractive people better than unattractive people. I think that's fair to say. Would you agree?
It is, as much as you don't want to say it because you don't want to hurt feelings, it is reality.
Yeah. Yeah, there are not too many hideously ugly movie stars, right?
No, and what's interesting about that is to get a hideously ugly movie star, like Charlize Theron played that one, Monster, I think it was. It took her almost 4 hours in the morning to look hideous.
That seems to be her thing, though, because she did that movie recently with the one. She's a mom, like a very beat down mom.
Yeah, but it takes her like 4 hours to look hideous. You think she actually goes backwards.
She's naturally
anyway,
beautiful.
We digress. But she is.
Poor
she is.
her.
Could you imagine waking up and looking like Charlize Theron, taking 4 hours to look, the way I look when I wake up? But,
Come on.
but you have to. But in a professional environment, you do have to take the time. It is just the reality of it.
For sure. All right, cool. The last principle of influence is scarcity. This one, I think we've all seen. The principle is when you as a buyer feel that something is maybe not going to be around forever, you feel urgency and a compulsion to move quickly. Have you ever heard these phrases, Janice? Limited supplies.
Yes.
Or offer ends soon.
Yes, for a limited time only. 10% off.
Have you ever been on a website where there's actually a countdown happening showing that, this offer ends in 10, 9, 8?
Yes, all the time. I don't know if that's so I shop
totally
a lot
intentional.
online.
Yeah.
It is, I know, but it stresses you out. You're like, I got to get the deal right now. And you press buy, and then you're like buyer's remorse immediately. But the countdown clock was going.
I think Home Shopping Network actually popularized that, where they would have that countdown for each item, right? And I think they also showed the quantity. Like there's 2,000 units of this, and they would show it going down until
there's 5 left. You have got to call fast. Yeah. Again, brilliant marketing based on psychological your fear of missing out.
Very good, FOMO. So I think everyone is familiar with that, at least because we're all bombarded by those types of sales tactics on a pretty much daily basis. How does it apply to real estate? You might be working with a broker who might sort of drop the line like, oh, there's a lot of interest in this property, right? And what is that? How does that make you feel, Janice? If you're also interested,
to make a decision now and not sit on that.
Right. Other ways of saying it is that, the market's hot right now. That makes you feel maybe perhaps that if you don't hurry now, it'll get priced up or somebody else will come in. Yeah.
Yes. Or there's that looming, the market could crash again. You got to do it right now because everything's really good.
And lastly, another sort of aside that might be dropped is, have you kept track of the interest rates? It looks like they're moving up again.
Yes.
And that might make you think the ability to get a lower cost mortgage is running out. The timeline on that is running out. Okay. Cool. So that's it. Thank you, Dr. Robert Cialdini, Godfather of Influence. These are principles that I think everyone, whether you're a college kid learning business, whether you're somebody who's more mid-career like us, and you just need to know these because these are forces that are acting on you all the time. You might as well be aware of them and perhaps even using them in your own business interactions. Yeah.
Absolutely. And they're so applicable to, like you said, everything. Every business that I can think of is out there could apply to this.
Okay. That's all we have. Thank you, Janice. And we'll talk to you next time. Yep.
We'll talk soon.
Take care.